An early morning storm strikes without warning, plunging 2 American schooners to the bottom of a vast lake.
They really were 2 of the most spectacular wrecks that could be found anywhere.
A watery grave for over 80 sailors. The largest single loss of life on the Great Lakes during the War of 1812.
I can see where this would really scare a lot of non-divers. Oh, it scares the diver.
What are you talking about? It scared me, man.
There was no Navy inquest. Now, nearly 2 centuries later, father and son diver explorers Mike and Warren Fletcher embark on the first scientific mission to get inside the wrecks since they sank. Two of the best preserved wooden shipwrecks in the world lie on the bottom of Lake Ontario in Canada. Discovered by an amateur archaeologist in 1973, these American vessels, the Hamilton and the Scourge, have been frozen in time for nearly 200 years. Wooden ships decay rapidly in seawater. Bacteria and salt break down wood and corrode metal. But the cold, fresh water of the Great Lakes has protected these wrecks, making them rare surviving examples of 19th century schooners. Both the Hamilton and the Scourge were sunk in the middle of the night by a violent summer storm. Today, the schooners rest upright. Elaborate wood carvings still grace their bows, and guns line their decks, seemingly ready for action, just as they were the night they sank. These priceless wrecks rest only 113 kilometers from Mike and Warren's home base.
You always imagine that the most exotic, the most exciting things happen somewhere else. But here with the Hamilton and Scourge, practically in my backyard. And they really were 2 of the most spectacular wrecks that could be found anywhere.
The Hamilton was 20 meters long, weighed 69 tons, and was armed with 9 guns. The smaller 41-ton Scourge measured just 17 meters, but 10 guns lined her deck. Both vessels were simple merchant schooners, pressed into service for the American Navy. Roughly 40 or 50 men served aboard each of the converted vessels. 1813. The United States and Britain were in the middle of a 3-year war. A war that would decide the fate of the vast northern territory that is now Canada, and that came to be known as the War of 1812. That spring and summer, the 2 navies engaged in battles across the Great Lakes. On the night of August 8th, 13 American vessels and 6 British faced each other only 1 kilometer apart on Lake Ontario. It was a warm, windless summer night. The 2 fleets silently at rest. Around 2 a.m., a violent storm struck without warning. When dawn broke, the Hamilton and the Scourge were at the bottom of the lake. Over 80 American sailors died, making it one of the Navy's largest losses of life until the Civil War, nearly 50 years later. The rest of the American fleet was unscathed. There was no Navy inquest and no official investigation into the sinking or loss of life.
Sailing Master Joseph Osgood, Steward John Cochran, and Boy Joseph Phillips.
The United States has designated the wrecks as war graves in what are now Canadian waters. Since 1976, they have been protected as a National Historic Site. The remains of 6 of the sailors lie on the lake bed near the schooners. Perhaps they drowned trying to escape the sinking vessels. The rest of the crew have never been found and could lie within the wrecks. Why so many drowned that night is still a mystery.
When I first started hearing about the Hamilton and Scourge, I didn't think about the individuals, but those remains were real people. They had names, they had families.
The Fletchers want to find out what happened and why so many perished that summer night. To do so, they need to get inside the wrecks, something that's never been done before. It's not going to be easy. The wrecks are in 90 meters of frigid water, but the cold, averaging just 4 degrees Celsius, may have preserved clues as to what happened that night. Now, for the first time ever, the Fletchers join forces with a multi-year scientific and archaeological survey of the wrecks to enter this vanished world.
By going down below, under the deck, we can really gather the only information that's available. Are there supplies? Are there barrels of food? Is there shot? Is there ballast? All of the things required to make a naval ship operate out on the lake. Are we going to find evidence of that below decks? And that's one of the tantalizing questions.
Yeah.
No plans or blueprints exist for the interiors of either schooner. The location of walls and supports may shed light on why they went down so fast. The expedition may also find the missing crew's skeletal remains. If the schooners went down suddenly, many may have been trapped below deck. The positioning of their remains could provide evidence of how and why so many drowned. The wrecks are war graves, so the team must station the expedition boat at a safe distance and hold it fast with mooring buoys instead of anchors that could cause damage.
Here you can see the wreck of the Scourge, and we've made a deliberate decision to position the moorings almost 100 meters away from the wreck site.
In 1980, Canada restricted scuba diving on the site, so they must use remotely operated submersibles, or ROVs, to get inside.
The ROVs, we've got the potential to have a lot of bottom time.
Yeah. To do a scuba dive, you'd only get a really short bottom time. I mean, if you were really pushing it, you might get 20 minutes, even maybe a half an hour, but you'd be a long, long time coming back to the surface, I can tell you.
The expedition will need every minute they can get to investigate. Without plans to guide them, they'll be flying blind. Access points are limited. The Hamilton has 3 small hatches, and the Scourge, 4. Each schooner also has a small row of stern windows. This will make entry a challenge, but it also may have prevented sailors from escaping. According to the one eyewitness account, the storm hit so suddenly that many could have been caught in the living quarters. To find out, the Fletchers planned to simulate the conditions below deck the night of the disaster. The test will shed light on the challenges faced by escaping crew. Survival systems in Halifax train military personnel and emergency responders how to survive being trapped underwater within a vessel. Mike and Warren want to use its $5 million simulator to learn what the crew would have experienced during the sinking.
In a simulation like this, where it's a shipwreck simulation, the big problem is the onrushing water and the disorientation that causes. Really, the only thing that you can rely on is physical reference. And in this particular simulation, there's not much in there for physical reference. It's just an empty capsule with one exit.
To make the simulation as realistic as possible, the Fletchers rely on the only eyewitness report. Ned Myers was a gunner on the Scourge and one of only 8 survivors of a crew estimated to be around 45. Writer James Fenimore Cooper, author of The Last of the Mohicans, told Myers' story in a biography published in 1843.
The captain looked at the heavens and remarked that the night was so calm and the English were so near. We should certainly engage if there came a breeze.
The crew left the sails up, and Myers slept on deck beside his gun.
Okay, let's go ahead and turn on the storm conditions.
The simulator uses 2 industrial fans to create wind,
Turning into a dark and stormy night here.
along with wave and rain generators to replicate the weather conditions on the night of the sinking.
I awoke in consequence of large drops of rain falling on my face. I meant to go down and get a nip out of a little stuff we kept in our mess chest, when a flash of lightning almost blinded me.
All we need now is some lightning.
Yeah, some thunder.
Our deck seemed on fire, a most awful and infernal din of thunder, and shrieks and dazzling flashes of lightning. the wind blowing all the while like a tornado.
With the sails up, Myers feared the winds would literally blow the vessel over. He sprang to release them.
The water was now up to my breast, and I knew the schooner must go over.
There it goes.
The winds blew the Scourge onto her side, and water poured into the deck hatches.
It's gonna go right upside down.
I can see where this would really scare a lot of non-divers. Oh, it scares the
What are you
diver.
talking about? It scared me, man.
The violent storm that struck both the Hamilton and the Scourge was likely a weather event called a downburst. These intense localized weather systems often occur on the Great Lakes during thunderstorms, striking in just seconds. Cold air from the storm front drops through the warmer air, hitting the lake, and blasts out like an explosion. The initial wind gusts can reach 150 kilometers an hour. They would have struck the sails that Myers failed to release, blowing the schooners over.
I have to admit, I don't know what to expect when I get inside this thing. It looks pretty wild. I think it's gonna be pretty intense.
Questions still remain. Did the vessel's internal structure inhibit the flow of water? How difficult was it for the sailors to get up onto the deck? Further investigation will be needed before Warren can simulate the schooner's final moments. The expedition heads to the site of the Scourge. They hope Ned Myers' account will help guide them inside for the first time in nearly 200 years. Scientists, archaeologists, and marine technology experts make up the 18-member exploration team, determined to study and penetrate the schooners. Archaeologist Jonathan Moore and engineer Bob Clark from ASI Group spent 6 months developing the ROV dive plans for the operation to make the most efficient use of each dive.
Jonathan's passion is the vessels and the archaeology of it. The things I get excited about is the technology that we're able to bring.
Okay, you're clear.
They use a $350,000 ROV, the CI Falcon, connected to the expedition's ship by a tether. It's about 1 meter long, weighs under 100 kilograms, and has a depth rating of 300 meters. Dan Cousineau has logged nearly 200 hours piloting the ROV. He flies it down 90 meters, beyond the reach of sunlight, to find his prey, the Scourge. The first dive mission will examine the Scourge from bow to stern, searching for the best point of entry. Piloting the ROV demands intense focus. The vehicles have no peripheral vision, so Dan relies on the onboard camera and sonar to maneuver the ROV above the fragile wreck. Slowly, the bowsprit on the front of the Scourge comes into focus.
Been waiting a long time to see the Scourge on the bottom. It's fantastic to finally get to see him. Is that the figurehead of the Scourge?
That's right. That's Lord Nelson, famous British admiral.
The Scourge was originally a British cargo vessel called the Lord Nelson. Her name was changed, but sailors believe it is bad luck to alter a figurehead. So the schooner sailed into combat against the British with Nelson, a British hero, still gracing her bow.
It's upsetting to see so much of this amazing wreck covered in mussels.
The mussels came in late 80s. They were on the sites by around 2000.
Zebra and quagga mussels blanket the wreck. Their added weight increases the danger of structural collapse. Mussels collect their food from water currents, so they rarely migrate into the interior spaces of shipwrecks where the waters are still. The team hoped the schooner's interior has been spared. The interior compartments of the Hamilton and the Scourge were originally designed to carry cargo across the Great Lakes.
Normally they carried the cargo down in the hold and put the weight down low. Now they've got all these heavy guns on the deck, and modifications with that have changed the buoyancy characteristics of the ship.
It must have.
The Scourge's 10 guns added roughly 8.5 tons to the schooner's deck, changing how the vessel handled. Any changes below deck could have affected how quickly water could fill the vessel. This information could help explain the high loss of life. The ROV reveals a bow hatch choked with silt. The stern hatch is also blocked, this time by boarding pikes, used to hold on to other vessels at close range. They need to find another way into the wreck. The ROV moves to investigate the stern of the Scourge.
So here, these are sliding window sashes that go up into the transom. Wow.
In Meyer's account, these windows led to the quarters of Sailing Master Osgood, the Scourge's captain. Glass windows, perhaps raised by Osgood in the hope of relief from the heat during the warm summer night.
And look, we're getting a really good view through. Dan, if you can hold the whole position.
Second window inside right
There's
there.
another opening.
The second opening is an important discovery. The ROV could use it to move from the captain's quarters into the heart of the Scourge.
Nedmar says in his narrative that he made his way to the fashion piece, which is a timber that defines the outer shape of the transom of the stern.
Okay, yeah.
So this is the spot right here.
I stood for an instant on the fashion piece. I saw Mr. Osgood with his head and part of his shoulders through one of the cabin windows, struggling to get out.
But the window opening is little more than 20 by 40 centimeters, roughly the size of a laptop computer. Perhaps too small for Captain Osgood to escape. His remains could still be inside. But the window is also too small for the ROV. The team must find another way to get in. They turn to a specialized piece of kit, a micro ROV, engineered to carry a high-definition camera. The video ray is one of the smallest ROVs in the world.
The unit itself is so compact that we can literally take it on as checked luggage on an airplane and go wherever we need to go.
Craig Thorngren is an expert pilot with more than 1,500 hours of flying time. The ROV is the size of a large shoebox, but this tiny device is also built tough to withstand the pressure over 100 meters below the surface.
We've got 2 horizontal thrusters
Yeah.
for forward and reverse, and they're powered by this control stick here. So you go forward, reverse, left and right.
So what did it take to get really good at flying the ROV?
A lot of practice.
The micro ROV is capable of working in hostile environments. Craig has used it to investigate more than 50 shipwrecks, including the USS Arizona, bombed at Pearl Harbor. It is the expedition's best chance of getting inside the Scourge. But the stern section is extremely delicate.
We've got a lot of material that's very loosely attached, a lot of decay and potential collapse. So let's consider this stern area as potentially a house of cards, you know?
One wrong move from Craig could damage the stern structure of the Scourge. The Fletchers used the archaeologist's data to build a life-size model of the window, so Craig can practice threading the needle.
Neither a human nor a camera has ever penetrated inside the wreck. Who knows what you're going to find in there?
ASI has a 70,000-liter tank used for planning complex ROV field operations like this one.
What do you think, John?
It's excellent because I think it gives a really good impression of the complexity of the shape of the stern. So when the ROV is attempting to fly horizontally, it's coming here at this angle. But this does not present a perfectly flat open window.
No.
We've got to fly through a fairly complex shaped opening.
The pressure is on Craig to prove that he can negotiate the approach and fly through the window without damaging the priceless wreck. Warren will monitor the ROV's progress from within the tank.
Craig, what we're going to do now is approach slowly and assess the size of the opening.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to fit through just fine.
Okay. So let's proceed through the opening.
This job isn't for shaky hands. Craig must exercise precise control, threading the ROV on a straight path through the complex angle of the window.
You're going to have restricted vertical clearance, so you're going to have deck beams above you, and you might not have a whole lot of clearance below you either.
Craig clears it without making any contact.
Okay, perfect.
If Craig makes it into the Scourge, they will first examine the cabin layout and search for archaeological evidence, furniture, personal belongings, and possibly Osgood's remains. From there, they will try to penetrate further and uncover how the schooner's structure may have affected the crew's escape. The flight back through is a little bumpier, but the team can take a bow. They have proven that the ROV can fit through the window.
Would you say the pressure's off now that you know that the ROV is going to fit through the window?
In a way, I think that it's going to be a lot more difficult on the wrecks. He can't approach from every direction he wants. He's got to come in from the port side, and there are going to be guns and other things that he's got to navigate around. So there's a lot of other factors that are going to make it much more complicated.
Every dive's a challenge. There's no doubt about it.
I've waited a long time to see inside there.
I have too.
And maybe we're getting a glimpse of something that may not last.
It's inevitable that that stern structure is going to collapse.
It's our moment.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Remember the house of cards scenario at the stern here with respect to the planking and all those fragile features?
The expedition boat is stationed nearly 100 meters away from the site. The offset protects the Scourge, but it also means that Craig doesn't have a clear line of approach to the captain's window. His descent takes nearly 25 minutes, and he must pilot around the stern quarter to meet with Dan's ROV, taking extra precaution not to snag on any part of the vessel. Jonathan holds the archaeological permit for the project and must ensure the historic wrecks are not damaged during the exploration. Each ROV trails 240 meters of tether, stretching back to the expedition boat. They must thread their way through fallen sections of fragile mast, rigging, and the pulley-like davits used to lower and raise the Scourge's dinghy. If a tether were to get snagged, it could trap an ROV or worse, damage the wreck while shaking free. The two ROVs line up and approach the stern windows. Dan pulls back to illuminate the entire area. Just a few more centimeters, and Craig will be inside.
I think I'm right over.
Yeah, I
right
think
there
you're
in
in
the
good
hole.
position here.
Yeah. When we come down, I mean, it does sound like the present.
Craig needs to approach straight on, just as he did in the test tank, in order to navigate the angle of the window. One of the team controls his tether, providing the ROV with full range and motion to maneuver. Too little slack in the tether, and it won't reach its target. Too much slack, and it may get hung up and damage the Scourge.
It's that you're not gaining depth there.
Yeah. Hey, you're paying out tether for me.
Got
Hold
it
on, I'm
back.
getting pulled. I'm getting pulled. I think you've got my tether.
No, I don't think so. I'll stop there. I'll stop.
Something is wrong. The tether is too tight and is preventing Craig from making a straight approach on the window.
It's no good how you're getting pulled back.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable.
Dan pulls back. His light reveals Craig's tether caught on the Scourge's stern davit. The ROV is stuck, and one wrong move could damage the Scourge. The snag tether makes it nearly impossible for the ROV to get inside the Scourge. Even worse, the tether sawing back and forth could cause damage. Craig carefully maneuvers to get free. If the davit snaps, serious damage could result to the entire stern structure.
Are we clear?
Not quite. You need to go a little bit to your port.
When you're starting to put a lot of strain on it, back and forth, it's not something to like.
Straight ahead there. And you're almost clear. You just gotta get a little bit more. Oh, there you go. You're there. Good. Nice job, Craig.
Thank you.
Okay, let's.
The position of the expedition boat forces Craig to work at a challenging approach angle to the window. Jonathan is worried about damaging the wreck.
What if we came as far forward on the forward line on the boat as we can? Just to move the whole boat this way.
The boat's moorings can't be changed, but a shift of even a few meters might be enough to give Craig a more direct approach angle to the stern windows.
97, yeah, we're closer to the center of the wreck.
Oh yeah, much better.
Is it better?
Much better. Okay, here we go.
Are you getting pulled back?
Yeah, just a little. Yeah, give me a little more tether.
Warren takes charge of the tether.
Slow her down.
Craig battles with the approach angle to the window. The muscle buildup adds another obstacle.
Whoa. Back off.
The sonar on the micro ROV hits the delicate window frame.
I think we need to pull back and let's reassess.
They review the footage to decide whether to proceed. Jonathan is the archaeologist in charge, so he has the final say.
You're fighting to come around, so you're facing difficulty even before you get towards the window.
The team are split. Craig believes he can get inside.
The windows look a lot larger than what we were originally thinking. Especially that one that doesn't have the muscle. I mean, I understand your concerns, don't get me wrong.
I think it's a combination of the size, the restricted size of the window, the fragility, and I just think it might be just too risky to...
Go on, okay.
Jonathan calls off the attempt. He believes any small bump could trigger the collapse of the stern section.
There's a huge frustration for any diver who becomes limited by someone else's rules. When you work really closely with archaeologists, you start to think like an archaeologist. And you start to get really worried about bumping into things or knocking a zebra mussel loose.
They need a new approach if they hope to answer why so many men died on the night of August 8, 1813. Mike and Warren investigate another 19th century schooner that shares a similar design to the Hamilton and the Scourge. They hope its internal hull design will shed light on what happened below deck during the sinking. The tiller wreck lays only 7 kilometers south of the Hamilton and the Scourge. She rests in just over 30 meters of water, making her much more accessible. The government forbids the use of scuba equipment for any commercial dive deeper than 30 meters. So the Fletchers must use surface-supplied air to dive on the tiller. Once they surface, they must enter a decompression chamber to purge their bodies of nitrogen gas that builds up in the blood during the dive.
Nitrogen, it's not assimilated by your body, all right? So what happens is the gas itself will come out of solution as soon as you hit the surface, and we don't like bubbles in our bloodstream that isn't oxygen.
The Fletchers will enter the chamber immediately after surfacing or risk getting decompression sickness.
Full-on commercial diving equipment, very cumbersome. You feel extremely awkward. But I did thousands and thousands of that style of dive throughout my commercial career.
They dive using tethers, a lifeline of air and means of communication with each other and the surface. But if they aren't careful, their tethers could become entangled in the wreck. The dive plan gives them just 30 minutes to investigate. Mussels cover the tiller as well. But at 4 square meters, her hatches are nearly 4 times as large as those on the Hamilton and the Scourge.
Dad, I'm going to see if I can enter the ship through the hatch at the bow.
The tiller was a cargo schooner, like the Hamilton and the Scourge before they were converted for war.
I think I can fit through. I'm going to drop inside and take a look at the internal structure.
Getting a glimpse of the interior of the cargo schooner provides the team with new information. These interior spaces were designed to maximize cargo capacity. Yet when the Hamilton and the Scourge became Navy vessels, the same sorts of holds may have become homes to 40 or 50 men.
Are you moving forward or aft? Over. I'm heading aft right now. I can see the transom ahead of me. I can see the deck beams.
Support beams for the deck are the only remaining structural features.
It appears to be literally wide open. I don't see any bulkheads or anything separating the different areas of the ship. It's really odd.
Open space below deck makes sense on a schooner like the tiller with a small crew designed to haul cargo. But on a vessel converted for war with dozens of men living below, it could have made it harder for them to escape the sinking. On purpose-built warships of the time, partitions separated the living, fighting, and storage spaces. These compartments would slow the ingress of water, potentially giving the crew more time to get out. But if the Hamilton and the Scourge share the same internal structure as the tiller, the crew may have had just seconds to escape.
I can only imagine what it would have been like if you had 40 or 50 men, like on the Hamilton and the Scourge down here, struggling to get out of the hold.
The Fletchers have just 7 minutes from their final decompression stop to surface and make it into the chamber to complete their decompression. Any delay and they risk contracting the bends. They reach the surface, but their tethers get tangled. Mike and Warren work together to free themselves from the constricting lines.
Warren needs some slack on the line.
Slack the dynamite.
Dad, see if you can swim around and untangle it. I can't move anywhere.
They have just 3 minutes to clear their tethers and make it to the decompression chamber.
I think I can see where it's hung up. I got it.
Warren untangles the lines.
Come on, Mike. Got Warren.
With less than 2 minutes remaining, the support crew must free them from their helmets, harnesses, and dry suits.
That's cracked.
Dangerous nitrogen will bubble in their blood. Prolonged exposure can cause paralysis or even death.
30 seconds.
They rush to the decompression chamber and make it with just 10 seconds to spare.
Have a good flight, boys.
Sealed inside the steel tank, the pressure is set to match their final in-water decompression stop.
Gentlemen, you are at depth. Start breathing O2.
The Fletchers have got their first look at the interior of a similar 19th century cargo vessel. But are the Hamilton and the Scourge as open below deck as the tiller wreck? Or were walls and partitions added when they were converted for battle to handle the increased crew size? If they are open, water could have flooded the schooners in just seconds, leaving those below deck with little time to escape. The Hamilton wreck site is the last chance for answers. She was sunk by the same terrible storm and lies just 500 meters from the Scourge. But there is no eyewitness account of the Hamilton sinking.
All right, Warren, we're good to splash.
At 20 meters long and 6 meters wide, she is larger than the Scourge, but has only 3 deck hatches, with the largest opening measuring just 1.5 meters square. The search for an entry point begins at the bow. The ROV scours the deck looking for a way to drop inside. There were only 8 survivors from the roughly 40 or 50 men serving on board. Few remains have ever been found.
Dan?
Yes.
Can you come back out and around, please, so we can monitor Craig going in? That'll give an extra set of eyes for him as well.
Absolutely.
The team move cautiously, aware that this is a war grave and that human remains could lie right below.
When a drowning victim goes to the bed of the sea or the lake, wherever they sink, they don't move much.
Well, that's one of the beauties of the Great Lakes. There aren't the strong currents, the tidal currents, and the big hurricane storms and things that tend to move stuff around on the bottom. It's so still down there.
And nor are there the organisms that consume the bones.
Both of these wrecks present a really good preservation environment for delicate organic materials such as bones and wood.
Craig moves into position above the forehatch. Mussels cover the opening, reducing access. He carefully moves the ROV lower. This time, the maneuver is perfect. He's in. Topside, images of the Hamilton's hold appear on the monitor. Mussels have penetrated the interior, but in much smaller numbers. The team enter the Hamilton's compartments for the first time since the night she sank, almost 200 years ago.
We're seeing obviously some kind of debris.
Broken wooden planking that might have been cabin fittings or furniture for the crew. Craig rotates just below the hatch, revealing a wide open compartment, much like the tiller wreck. The visible evidence suggests water could have flooded it in mere seconds.
It would have been quite something at that spot when the vessel sank.
How did Ned describe it? It was like water running into a sluice.
Myers believed the storm caught many sailors below deck.
Those who were stationed below slept below. I think it probable that as the night grew cool, as it always does on fresh waters, some of the men stole below to get warmer berths.
But the ROV is not finding skeletal remains in this part of the schooner. Craig brings the ROV back out of the compartment and directs it aft where it finds the vessel's dinghy. It appears that the Hamilton sank so fast, there was no time to escape. Craig moves to his next target, the aft hatch.
How's the umbilical looking, Dan?
The umbilical's going in really smooth. It's not touching anywhere.
The hatch is clear, so Craig presses on, dropping nearly 2 meters below deck. The team spots something within the compartment. A musket rack with muskets still in it lines the interior wall just inside the hatch.
Let's count them. Like maybe you can
11.
Count them out.
I count 11 this way.
The muskets, kept close at hand, are evidence of the soldiers and crew living below deck.
Exactly. Very good. Excellent. Excellent.
Craig must navigate an incredibly tight area in order to get deeper inside the wreck.
I think you're gonna have to pull back without hitting that stanchion that's right there. We don't want to touch that at all. That's extremely fragile.
This passageway is where the men would have been scrambling to try and escape. But it is narrow, even for the micro ROV. Moving just a centimeter at a time, Craig moves ahead in the tight space.
Nice driving, Craig.
Creeping deeper into the wreck, they are rewarded with another discovery.
Does this look like the bottom of a shelf here?
The team spots something that could be a link to the Hamilton's crew, a horizontal plank.
See, that could actually be a bunk. That could be a bunk, and this could be the lower bunk. That could be
It's open underneath.
This looks like the crew's sleeping quarters, where sailors may have awakened to an overwhelming onrush of water.
So, John, if that is a bunk, if Hamilton met a very sudden end, then this is definitely an area where humans could have been trapped below decks.
Absolutely.
A blanket of silt covers the deck, entombing the crew's remains forever.
Warren, let's go ahead and start pulling it back in.
The micro ROV gives the team a window on the past, revealing the interior compartments of the Hamilton. The lack of visible bulkheads or partitions meant water could pour in from the hatches. But how difficult would it be for the crews to escape the capsized schooners as they filled with water? At Survival Systems, the Fletchers prepare the simulation of the last moments of the Hamilton and the Scourge.
I wouldn't say I'm nervous, but I can feel a little butterfly there.
I think it is going to be difficult. I think there's a lot of water moving through one exit, and it's not a particularly big exit, which means the onrush is going to be pretty heavy.
Mike stays outside, ready to help if Warren becomes injured. He will also time how long Warren is trapped within the capsule.
Yeah, we got the wave ball going. Make some nice big waves for us.
I woke in consequence of large drops of rain falling on my face. I meant to go down and get a nip out of a little stuff we kept in our mess chest, and that I would bring up the bottle, when a flash of lightning almost blinded me.
Think we're getting ready. Oh my gosh. This is so intense.
"17 tons of water blast through the hatch, pushing all of the air out of the capsule.
The water was pouring down the cabin companionway like a sluice.
Oh, where am I? Oh my gosh. Which way is up?
I watched 30 seconds go by and then almost a minute. How would somebody do that if they didn't have scuba equipment? And especially if it happened suddenly and in the dark.
After nearly a minute, the standby divers check on Warren to ensure he hasn't been injured. At last, Warren struggles free, but is met with the chaos of the storm on the surface.
I made a spring and fell into the water, several feet from the place where I had stood. It is my opinion the schooner sunk as I left her.
But it happens fast, man, a lot faster than I expected. The water just you see it coming in and then you're underwater.
Those sailors would have been taken by surprise and would have had just a few terrifying moments to reach the deck.
It definitely brings it home for me what actually happened that night and the challenges that these guys were up against, you know, immediately just survive and get out of the ship, and I can see why a lot of them died.
Ned Myers was one of the lucky ones. Within moments of jumping into the water, he found the Scourge's dinghy and climbed in. He went on to save the other 7 men who survived the sinking. Nearly 200 years later, a scientific expedition has entered one of the schooners for the first time, gathering archaeological evidence and shedding light on why so many died. For the crews of the Hamilton and the Scourge, trapped below deck, the schooner's interiors would become their coffins.